Welcome back to yet another episode of our radio morning show. That's why it's unscripted. Morning show. Whoops. You guys know to expect nothing less than that from me. This is Alicia from Country Mama Musings.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ann from Andale Homestead.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Casey over at Ormsby Farms.
Hi, I'm Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Welcome to the show, guys. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning here in Texas.
It's beautiful but windy up here in the tundra of Iowa, where the weather is starting to get a little more chilly.
Oh, I was gonna ask, what's it like where you guys are, Miss Ann? What's your weather like over there?
It's cool. It's going to be in the 50s today, which most people go, that's not cool. That's summertime, but it is cool for us. And it's supposed to be in the 40s or so, and then towards the end of the week, much colder.
Nice. Casey, what's the weather like over there where you are? Is it chilly? Is it feeling like fall finally?
It's finally feeling like fall in Georgia. I think we're supposed to have like a high of like 60 something today. It's been teetering back and forth between like thinking it's spring again and some warmer, and then next day it'll be like high of 40. So I think Georgia weather has finally figured itself out. We think. But it's nice. It's really nice in Georgia right now. I mean, I have sweatshirt and sweatpants on, so I'm down with it.
Very nice. Yeah, it's been really nice here too. It's kind of been chilly during the day. My turkeys, I have little baby turkeys, been putting outside off and on, and they're not really feeling it. So we've had to kind of bring them back inside because they're kind of like, it's too cold out here. We need to go back in.
Well, this will be our first year of having chickens and going through a fall and a winter. So I'm really curious to see how the girls do, because really here in North Carolina, we don't really have winter until around February, something like that. I think it's going to be really interesting. So far, the girls are rocking the egg production. How about you, Casey? Are your girls in Georgia still rocking?
I said, well, we were talking about that before we went on live, and they're still rocking, and we're the same kind of way here in Georgia. Zone 8A is, we don't really get cold, like winter cold until like February, maybe January.
Yeah.
Even though we're supposed to, funny story here in the small town where I live, it's kind of like an old farmer's kind of rumor or tale, is that if you open up the persimmon seed, cut it in half, there should be a shape, and the shape is either a spoon, a fork, or a knife, and it will tell you how your winter is supposed to be going forward. So we did have someone in the town open up a persimmon seed, and it was a spoon, which means a lot of snow and very cold this winter. So again, it will be interesting to see how my girls fare in the cold weather this year. They've been doing good so far. So
I missed that. What did it turn out to be?
It was a spoon. So a spoon was supposed to be a lot of snow, a lot of cold.
Yeah, and you're not alone. I mean,
Yes, no,
there are many people out there that have said the persimmon seed has been a spoon.
And so, it's going to be, I'm big into reading the Farmer's Almanac as well. And it did say this year that we're going to have a pretty harsh winter is kind of how it was put. What about you in Texas, Monica? Do y'all have any old wives' tales that y'all do to see how the winter is going to be for your homestead?
It's usually the persimmon, and we have literally 6 little persimmons sitting on our counter that have shriveled up and like dried into hard rocks. As a matter of fact, Abigail said the other day, she's like, "Can we throw these away, please?" And I was like, "No, Dad wants to cut them open." She was looking at me like, "Are you kidding me?" They're like rock hard right now, but we still wanted to cut them open. So I think that's something we're going to try to do with the kids, because they like to see, what does it look like on the inside. I honestly have not even paid much attention to what we're supposed to get this year. I wouldn't mind a mild season, and I can tell you right now that it got really cold a few weeks ago, but honestly I would love to have a nice mild season this year, but I don't think it's happening.
Well, here in North Carolina, we like mild winters. However, we do want it to freeze for a day or two because our mosquitoes are large enough to pick you up and take you away. So when you have
to that.
You got the Texas size mosquitoes down
Yeah,
there.
we do. We
Got it.
got the Texas size mosquitoes, especially we have a creek in our backyard, so the mosquitoes are some kind of bad.
And they're miserable when they just take over. It's
Oh,
really
yes.
unhealthy.
Oh, it's awful.
Up here in Iowa, we have 2 things that the farmers watch for. They watch the squirrels. And if the squirrels are overly active putting their nuts away for the year, they know we're in for something. They watch when they start putting them away and they watch their activity and how much. So
Okay.
they really do base a lot on squirrel activity. The squirrels know whether they need to not just have their usual preparations for winter or if they need to go above and beyond. And so usually the farmers will let you know. You go down to the little coffee houses and you listen to the little farmers that all sit around and have their coffee in the morning. They'll let you know what's going on. The
Mhm.
other thing that we watch up here is we have the little woolly bear caterpillars. They're the orange and black striped caterpillars.
Okay.
And the more black rings they have, the harsher the winter will be. Now, a lot of people say that's an old wives' tale, but we watch for them. And sometimes I'll see a little woolly bear and I'll see him going across my yard and he'll have a lot of little black rings. It's like, okay, we need to be extra prepared. There's something about it. And like
Okay.
I said, it might be an old wives' tale, but we listen to them.
Right.
And even if they're wrong, if I over prepare, at least over prepare. It's better to be over prepared than under prepared. And so we just look for little things like that.
That's right. That's right. And we do that as well as far as the acorn production in our area. If because it's every so many years or whatever, but if there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acorns that fall and the nuts and the birds are all gathering everything, then we know that there's a reason for it to prepare for a winter. So we
And
do those kinds of things.
Casey mentioned the Farmer's Almanac, and since our episode that dropped yesterday was about being prepared,
Right.
not being paranoid, but being prepared. And the farmer. I can't speak this morning, friends. I don't know what it is. I am so tongue tied. The Farmer's Almanac is a wonderful resource, and let's think about it. There is a reason why the Farmer's Almanac has been in production for as many years as it has. Time in, time out, true to itself. There's a reason for it because they know what's going on. They know the trends to look for. They know how to read things, and you need to have that as a wonderful resource. They're just not some fly by night. This is what we think is going to happen. They know the trends. They know what the farmers look for. They know how to predict things that are coming up. And it is a
Yes.
wonderful resource to refer to know what you need to do for your homestead regardless of where you live. And we talk about this on our podcast and on our radio show all the time. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're homesteading in an apartment, in a single family dwelling, in a duplex, in a suburban area, in an urban area, or if you're out on an acreage, on a little hobby farm, or on a 5-acre farm, or a 10-acre farm, or for those of you who have 100-acre farms, bless you. It doesn't matter. It still applies to what you need to be looking forward to in the months ahead and how to best prepare for you and your family. And so there's nothing wrong with being prepared. And like my son says all the time, there's just this fine line between being prepared and paranoid. You have to decide what side you're going to be on. And here on our Round the Hay Bale podcast and on our morning show, we do not promote fear mongering, but we promote paying attention, being prepared, and doing what you have to do that best suits you and your family. Period.
That's right. Well, I sort of attend to it as it's preparing, yes, but what I'm doing is giving myself peace of mind. It gives me peace
Absolutely.
of mind to know that I'm ready. If a storm comes through or a truck turns over and knocks out all the electrical poles or a tornado or fire, those types of things that are not in my home specifically, then I'm ready. So it brings me peace of mind. Now, Casey, we did a prepper checklist,
We
and
did. We
yeah,
did.
and you have put it in a specific place. Maybe you can share with our audience where they might be able to find that checklist.
Absolutely. And if you listened to our podcast yesterday, it was called My Prepper's Checklist. And we just talked about our 5 must-have things on our list to have on the homestead along with we each put in a printable recipe. It's on our Etsy store. I know that Monica's going to drop the link in all of the chats, but you can get it from our Linktree link or our QR code, which I'm going to pop up here on the screen right now. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you over. Click on our Etsy shop. I'm trying to pull it up, and it's kind of like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. I'm, talking and
I can't do that.
here we go. Well, so this is our Etsy shop now, y'all. So it's all nice and pretty. So anything that we start talking about printable wise, because we always talk about having recipes printed out or having lists printed out or how to fix a plumbing issue printed out. We are going to start uploading these onto our Etsy shop. You can go, it's a downloadable link right here. You see that this is what we talked about on our episode yesterday. It comes with your checklist. It is water marked because we know how some folks is. And then it comes with specific recipes also. I'm clicking on it and it's not showing it because it opens in another screen, which is just wonderful.
Yeah, that's fun, huh?
Here we go. Because I'm like, why is it not showing? There it is. And there, look at Miss Beautiful Ann right there.
Woohoo!
So it comes with 4 printable recipes, one from each of us of our tried and true recipes that we have printed, ready to go. But it also has a prepper's checklist right there. So you download it, you'll get the PDF file. It's great. We worked hard on the episode that came out yesterday.
And look at that artwork. That's frameable. You could have us hanging in your kitchen.
You could.
Print that out in color. Print that out in
you.
color and make Christmas tree ornaments out of those friendly faces right there.
Oh my goodness.
Right, look at those beauties. Look at those
my
beauties right
gosh.
there.
The most beautiful one is my chicken. Look at my chicken. Betty. She is adorable.
Oh, she is cute. She is
But
cute.
but yes, it's on our Etsy shop, and definitely go and listen to our podcast from yesterday because we talked about. I think Monica, you're the one that said this was probably the most important podcast that we've made in the 50 plus podcasts that we've done, and it's a great episode. What did y'all think about the episode?
I thought it was fantastic, and you can never. My mother was an educator for 25 years, and she said her mantra was to relearn is never a bad thing, because the more that you hear it, the more that you get it, then the more it becomes a part of you, as far as remembering what to do and how to do and things that you might be able, because there are some things that we're going to need to purchase. You don't automatically have everything around your house, but to be prepared, it's good to know a list of things that you don't have to buy them all at once. You can continuously get once a week or once a month or things like that. So I thought it was fantastic. And Alicia, what did you think?
Well, I think it's an important thing to note that as we're listening to this new really important episode, there were things we've touched on in the past, but like you said, it's important to continue to learn. And I worked in the education system for a while as well. We would always tell the kids, never pass up an opportunity to learn. And you have those students, especially in middle school, that would say, I already learned this, I already know it. And I think sometimes as adults, we think the same way. I've already learned that. You know what? Learn it again. Never pass up an opportunity to learn. There's different ways as we grow and mature. We see things with different eyes. And I think it's really important that this episode helps us think outside the box, look at things with fresh eyes, and look at things in a way, like you said, not just be prepared, but you have that peace of mind.
Right.
And I've shared before that, we went through a time, and Monica can relate to this because she's gone through the same thing, where you go through your major breadwinner in your home going through a change in jobs. And it's scary because you don't know what your financial situation is going to be like until that next job comes in and things get back into that rhythm. Monica's gone through it. I've recently gone through it. And I have got to tell you, it was the first time in my adult life that we had this major change. And I was like, it's okay. I have this in place. I have that in place because my hard work is paying off just in peace of mind. It might not pay off money wise, and that's okay because there are more important things in this world.
Mhm.
I had the peace of mind that, you know what? I have enough food in my pantry to get us through this time. I have enough of this. I have enough of that. I have enough put away to take care of our utilities and our basic needs because I am ready for this because I
Right.
started paying attention. And this is what we want our listeners to do. That's why we said we're not fear mongering. We're not wanting you to panic. We just want you to be prepared because it doesn't matter what the situation is, a change in job, your power goes out, an ice
Mhm.
storm comes through. Look at the ice storm that Texas had a few years ago.
Right. That's right.
I
Yeah.
mean, my goodness, that was a real it was a hardship on so many people. And I don't want to say it's not because they weren't prepared. But you have to be prepared for the unknown like that.
Right.
And just a little bit of preparation can go a long way. What is the old adage? An ounce
A prevention.
is worth a pound of cure.
There you go.
And so this is what we want to relay to everybody who's listening to the podcast. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. And like I said, sometimes we hit on things we've hit on before, but it's because it's important. We want you to be thinking with this mindset that homesteading is more than growing your tomatoes.
That's right.
Homesteading is more than, getting your chickens eggs. It goes beyond that. And you have to have so many different layers and chapters and elements of having things in place, not only for you, your family, your children, your animals,
That's right.
your pipes into your home. There are all these different things. There's so much to think about. But if you think in advance, and you put some catch fails in place, you're going to be much better off for it. This is the message we want to get out.
That's right. That's right. And so, Monica, as far as relearning or hearing information half a dozen times, to me, it's a little like a Bible verse that you hear forever. And then all of a sudden, aha, it makes sense.
Yep.
And that's kind of the way. How about for you on these prepper checklists?
Yeah, I think so. I would definitely liken it to something like that. I teach my kids, I homeschool my kids, and constantly going back over things. And that's one of the things we did say in the episode was that we've probably sprinkled these ideas all throughout many of our episodes in the past, but going back through it one more time, a lot of times that's what I do with my kids when I'm teaching them. I go back through the
Right.
same thing, and my kids always get mad. They're like, Mom, I've already went over this. Or the beginning of every school year is always a review.
Hmm.
The beginning of a Sunday school is usually a review of last week too, and then you talk about it. But the reviewing, that constantly going over it, is really what's kind of pounding it into your brain and reinforcing what you
And
do
going
know.
really in depth to it too. I think we went deeper into it than we have
Yeah.
before in other episodes, which was important for us to kind of dig a little bit deeper into quote unquote prepping or being prepared.
And
Yeah.
not only that, we fed off of each other. We
Yes.
each had unique and individual aspects to add that all of us were saying, "Oh, I didn't think of that. I'm going to add that to my list," because we all have different experiences, we all have different ideas, and coming together as a collective and then sharing it with our listeners, that's the goal. And then we want our listeners to add in their own mind what works for them and then share that with their friends and family so
That's right.
that everybody can garnish and gain some knowledge from some of the things that we've had to experience. And Monica saying that she homeschools her kid. I don't know why. You guys know I always have these visuals of things and talking about learning the Bible verses until it finally applies. I mean, how many of us have had instances where either our parents or we tell our kids, pick up your shoes because you don't want to trip and fall. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
and they kick them out of the way, but they always leave the shoes in the middle of the floor until one day they trip over them
Right.
and then they bite through their bottom lip. And it's like, see, if you just would
Hmm.
have picked up your shoes and moved them like Mama told you, and then
Mhm.
they learn, oh, I have to be prepared to keep my pathway clear. And so you can have that with your homestead, you can have that with your spiritual walk, you can have it with all kinds of things. Keep your pathway uncluttered and your life will go so much smoother. I love it when I come up with analogies like that.
Well, I think it's important too because when you made the comment that we fed off one another, but I think it's great too because by us saying it over again, we're also reinforcing for ourselves. And the more I always tell my kids, because one of the things with the larger family is it's been really nice to be able to have some of the older kids help some of the younger kids, and we kind of pair off sometimes. And
Right.
they've been able to teach the younger kids, and not teach them necessarily, but reinforce what they've already kind of learned by leading the other child. So if it's spelling, whatever it is, they can walk away for a second and have a quick little, okay, you go over there and practice his spelling with him. We do that with Awana verses each week. Hey, I need you to go over here and practice with such and such. He needs to memorize his verse. Well, I already learned that verse, Mom. I know, which means you're going to be even better at helping him learn that verse. And the more you say it, the more you learn it, the more you can teach others. And when you begin to teach others what you know, it just reinforces the validity of, first of all, the validity of what you know, but it also reinforces your technique and what you know. And I just think it's awesome that way. And I think it's important to always continue to learn. But when you start to really teach people what you know, that's really when you feel that confidence and you start to really learn it even more.
That's so true. So
Absolutely. We had the best math teacher at the charter school that I worked at, and that was his concept. I'm going to teach you, then you're going to do it, and then you're going to teach it. So it was, learn, do, teach.
Yep.
And those kids flourished. And, it's same goes with the homestead. I can talk to you about how to clip the wings of a chicken. And you can learn by watching me, but not until you do it do you have the full concept. And then turn around and teach somebody how to do it.
Well,
And you
yeah, I was
just
going to say,
grow.
I think that leads us right into our very first comment call out, what you're saying.
Awesome.
woohoo.
It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew.
Who's taking this one?
Well, go ahead. You can start. You can say her last name because I don't know how to say it.
I was about to say I'm not doing the names.
Okay, this isn't fair because Mama ain't wearing her glasses. Oh, this is Jessica Osment.
There you
And
go.
I loved it when she posted this because I have received the same comments and the same looks from my kids when I do things like this. And she says, making my first chicken and veggie scrap stock today. And my kid said, it will be okay if it doesn't taste good, Mom. It's your first try. And she says, I
Oh,
think we all need that kind of encouragement in our lives.
That is so precious.
Well, because they don't, I've said it before, I'll say it again. We have been raised and grown up in a disposable society. And
Yep.
everything is viewed as trash. And so this poor kid probably looked at his mama putting this on the stove and she's like, she's cooking our garbage. I mean, it makes me think of Uncle Buck. That scene in Uncle Buck. He's thinking she's cooking our garbage. And I know my kids, my grown children have looked at me that way when they come over and I'm doing my veggie stock because I save all my trash, all my garbage from my scraps and I keep them in the freezer and then I pull them out and I make this stock. But I tell you what, I know what's in that stock. And it
that's
is
right.
a delicious stock, and I've got it in my pantry anytime I need to grab it to use in any of my recipes. That is a delicious pot of garbage that Jessica has on her stove, and I know it is turning it into liquid gold. So, Jessica, you rock. I know it's going to be delicious. And you know what, guys, when you take all of your scraps like that and you make that veggie stock and then you can it, don't add your seasonings, just do the stock and then add your salt and pepper and garlic salt, everything when you're making your meal. It gives you much more flexibility. But what a wonderful thing to do with what
Right.
most people would think is garbage. And when I say that we live in a disposable society, look around you. It doesn't matter if it's trash. It doesn't matter if it's your relationships. We've gotten to the point where we're just like, that's disposable. That's disposable. Our
Yeah.
children, our education. I've already learned that. I don't need to learn it again. And you throw away the opportunity. It's so important to what we're talking about today is don't give up the opportunity to learn something new. Jessica has reached outside her comfort zone. She's making her first pot of stock. Jessica, kudos. It is beautiful. And like I said,
It
garbage
is. It is
gold.
beautiful.
Yes, it is. It is liquid gold. It truly is.
It is. Good job.
And I'll tell you, from someone who makes their own stock, um, it doesn't taste like the store-bought ones. But I think it's kind of cool that her kids gave her that encouragement, because most kids would be like, "Well, this doesn't taste like the stuff from the store." And listen, most of the stuff in the store has so many preservatives and stuff that you don't want in it, that yes, be glad that it doesn't taste like the one at the store.
Show me
Just
an
on my
8-year-old.
soapbox.
Show me an 8-year-old that's running around with a straw in a box of veggie stock like it's like it's a juice pack. They're not going to taste it unless it's in the recipe. They don't know.
Yeah.
Right, right. So true.
Yeah.
I just had a
Now,
visual of a kid running around.
who all makes their own stock on the panel?
Me.
I know I do.
I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, we make our own too. Yep. I just
That's
canned up 8
4
gardens.
for 4.
Yep.
How about that?
We 4 for 4, and I'm telling you, it's so simple, because I talked about it on one of my videos, is of course when you get whole chickens, whether you've raised them yourself or you buy a whole chicken from the store, you pull the meat off. Then what do? Okay, you have that carcass, add it to your water, your seasonings, your veggie scraps, like Jessica did in her video.
I just
Make
fainted
you
dead
some
away at
broth.
the word carcass.
Carcass. Well,
Well, okay. So the carcasses of your veggies.
There we go.
Carcasses of the all of that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying, Mrs. Vegetarian. But no,
Unscripted.
after you pull everything out and you have the stock and you strain it and you can it, then what do you do with those bones that are left? You can dehydrate them, and then I dehydrate sometimes for about 26, sometimes 30 hours of the bones, and then you can blend it up and you have bone meal. So nothing should go to waste from that one chicken that you either worked so hard raising and processing and all that kind of stuff, or that you paid way too much money for at the store. All should be used so you get that $9 worth.
Well, you
Are
know
you
what
a little
though?
salty about the chicken? Can you tell I'm a little salty?
I've never ground it up for the bone meal. What an awesome idea!
Oh yeah, I can't remember what channel I learned it from, but it's something that also you can use that powder to add it back into soups when you're making in the future, and it just gives it more of that healthy kind of it gives the nutrients. I
Right.
can't find the word. One of
Yeah.
y'all help me find a word that I'm
Well, you can
looking
make your own bone meal too for your garden. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's where my brain went, was for the garden.
Bone meal for the garden. You've got the marrow from the bone for your health nutrients. My brother keeps telling me,
you can put it
for
in
my
your
health, you really need to have
Yep.
some bone marrow
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, I ain't doing it. But
Well,
there are health benefits, and like I said, we've grown up in this disposable society, and how many people just throw their stuff away?
Yeah.
When you start looking outside the box in this type of a lifestyle of becoming appreciative of what the gifts are that you've been given, and then using them to every aspect of your well-being,
right.
it all starts making sense. And I'm the guilty one. I used to just throw all my veggie scraps away all the time, because that's not how I was raised, though. That's not how I was raised, because I was raised on a farm. But you get out in society and you get out into quote unquote the world, and it's just easier to just throw it all away, and your life becomes so busy you don't pay attention to what's important, and you throw it away. And it
Right.
becomes disposable diapers, disposable cups, disposable friendships, disposable marriages. Everything's disposable, and
Yeah.
we've got to get back to holding value of what's important.
Well,
Value.
it looks like Sarah over at Two Doves Bees and Gardens is working on dehydrating and freezing some of her garden harvest this week. I know they pulled out a bunch of peppers. They're here in Texas, and they pulled out some peppers and okra, it looks like, and green and yellow beans. They're going to be dehydrating and freezing. Chris and Larry. Chris is actually taking celery and butternut squash in the freeze dryer, and she's got cilantro in the dehydrator. I think it's awesome because, dehydrating is definitely a huge way to preserve your harvest and not be disposable and not let things
Right.
be just throw away. And I think we have another comment call
Right.
out about dehydration. It's time for
Do-do-do-do.
Subscriber comment call out. Pew pew pew.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Can we just say first, as we're soaking in the pew pew pew, how beautiful this turkey is, real fast before we get into the comment, because it's so funny. Carrie actually posted it. She said I didn't want the post to get lost, so she decided to post a picture of her beautiful boy, and he is a
Aw.
beautiful
So
boy.
look at his beard. It's so
Uh-huh.
handsome. So
That,
handsome.
that's a pretty one. But this comment is not about turkey, but it could be. It said, decided I wanted to make my own instant potato. So I bought a dehydrator. What else is great dehydrated? Deer jerky is the only thing I've ever done before and one, and it's been a year. Thanks in advance. Um, One I've done. I know that my co-hosts have heard me talk about this way too many times. I have done the dehydrated mashed potatoes and blended it for instant potatoes, and it works wonderful.
Really?
I dehydrate this year. I dehydrated everything because I had such a wonderful harvest and my freezers were full. I canned as much as I could can. And there are some things that you really can't can, such as yellow squash. It just loses
Right.
the really good form of the squash.
Yeah.
So I dehydrated it and in the chips and made meals in a jar of squash casserole, a cheesy squash casserole with it. So I do zucchini and squash carry in the dehydrator, and it works wonders.
Now,
And
before you say anything more, I want a show
oh,
of hands from all 4 of us who has a
huh?
dehydrator. Casey has a dehydrator.
I do
Me.
have a dehydrator.
Miss Ann has one.
I do. Mhm.
Monica has one.
Yes, I do.
I do too. That's 4 for 4. Again, people who are listening, it's time for a round robin. I want to know from my
Oh,
co-host, because I love throwing round robins out there.
she
What is
does.
now? We can all talk about the usuals, and that's going to help Carrie to know the usuals. But I also want to know for those who are looking for something a little outside the box, what is the most unusual thing you have thrown in your dehydrator successfully? I can tell you what didn't work for me, but what is the most successful, unique thing? Because I think people are just thinking inside the box of what you can dehydrate. What's the most unusual thing you've dehydrated? You want me to go first to give you an idea?
Yeah.
I was about to say, or I can go first.
I'll tell you, and it's not on my current eating plan because I am losing weight right now because I'm a fat girl. Okay,
Oh my word.
Dale donuts. When you get Dale donuts for 99 cents,
What?
you cut up the Dale donuts and then you dehydrate them, and then they're like a biscotti for dunking in your coffee. Tell
What?
me the
Wow.
fat girl don't know what she's talking about.
Oh my
But
gosh.
don't let it go to waste. You can
That's
do the same with
genius.
like a banana bread. If your banana bread's getting ready to turn, throw that sucker in the dehydrator, dehydrate it, turn it into little coffee dunkable uh biscottis. Now they're going to be rock hard, but once you do them, you proof them in your mason jar, get the lid on there, and then when you have company, you could pull out these pretty little donuts that you've cut into little sections and you can dunk them in your coffee, pinkies up, and
Okay.
have a lovely little dessert with your coffee. And that way the donuts aren't going bad. Don't spend full price for the donuts, but if you see something in a markdown for 99 cents or 50 cents when you go to the store, grab those suckers, turn them into something that's going to benefit you and make you look extremely bougie to your friends when they come over and have coffee. So, thinking outside that box, who wants to go next? What is something just unique that you have thrown in your dehydrator that people might not think to do?
Go, Casey.
I was about to say I'll go. Or I first want to just call out. Jessica is actually in the chat from the last
Woohoo.
for our last comment
Hey.
call out. So hey, Jessica, and she said no dehydrator or canner or anything yet. Working on it, and I had commented
job.
back. She will not regret it. I mean,
Right.
having those two items, you have bottomless, endless stuff that you can do and preserve your food and that kind of stuff.
And
That's
one
right.
thing at a time. You don't have to do it all at once.
Yes, you
Right.
can't do it all. You don't have to do it all at once. But I think the craziest thing that I've done, because I've done all of the regular ones, and mine's not as cool as donuts. But
I'm the cool kid.
I dehydrated some fruit juice that I canned.
What?
Now you have to get. There are these silicone rings that I have a round dehydrator. So there's
Yeah.
the different mats for the different ones. But I got a cheapie at Walmart.
Hmm.
And you put these silicone mats, which have this little ledge on the outside, and you can pour your fruit juice that you can from your fruit that you grow in your orchard or that you buy from a farmer's market and dehydrate it. So it usually takes about 48 hours to really get it good and done. But then you can roll it up into fruit roll-ups.
Oh
Some
my
people do it.
gosh.
Some people do it in the freeze dryer, but Big Boy over here at Ormsby Farm do not have a freeze dryer, so I've been dehydrating it, and it's cool because you can put it on some parchment paper or whatever kind you like to use, roll it up, and then you can cut them in little, let's just say 2-inch
You can,
rolls.
like your fruit by the foot.
You
Yeah.
have the fruit by the foot that is healthier for your kids, and then you put it in a jar and vacuum seal that 4-jar lids. So it's fresh, just like buying the one from the store.
Wow.
But it's stuff from your juice, and it's really fun. And some people even do other liquids like the broth, like how Jessica had the broth. You can dehydrate it, blend it, then you got some like bouillon kind
Powder.
of powder for you. So that's mine is a fruit roll up. Fat kid, fat kid, fat kid.
Woohoo! Who's next?
Oh my gosh. Well, I can go next if you do have something, Anne.
No, I mean, I got something that ain't
Okay.
unusual.
Well, mine, I don't know how unusual it is, but I have dehydrated successfully sourdough starter.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I had a bunch of like, I guess, leftover. It was going well when I had it going well the one time. I actually had a bunch of the discard, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna dry this discard out and then save it for later. So if I ever kill this that's alive, I will just have some left over. And so it was good that I did it because now I have dehydrated sourdough starter. So I can start it up using that anytime. But I had bought the originally when I started my sourdough, I didn't start it from scratch. I actually started it from a dehydrated starter that I bought. And so I was like, well, if somebody else did it, I know I can do it. And so I did. And I used those sheets like Casey's talking about, the silicone sheets with the little lip to them. And I'm actually going to go put that in my Amazon storefront now that he told me about it. He reminded me about it because I do have
Okay.
those
I do
and
too.
I've used them with experience and I love them for my dehydrator. I would highly recommend the silicone ones. The
Right.
soft ones, the more
Me
malleable
too.
ones. I have the
They're
green
easier to
ones.
wash and everything.
Yes, and I have the hard plastic ones that we use that you can use standard for, that kind of come with it or whatever, but I like the silicone ones so much better. But yeah, I dehydrated sourdough starter and it was successful. I tried to dehydrate eggs before, but it wasn't very successful.
The
So,
fat content is too high. The fat content is too high in eggs
well,
to
I've done it.
dehydrate
It wasn't
You
successfully.
just gotta freeze dry it. You
Yeah,
just gotta
well,
Right.
freeze dry
I
it.
know you can dehydrate them successfully. I did it, and the only reason why I wasn't successful was because I let it go really, really long, which was fine. But when I was done with it, I was so unsure. I was so non-confident of what I had done that I was like, yeah, I don't want to keep this. And I just threw it all
Yeah.
away.
And
But I
then
Yeah.
dehydrated it for
waste.
like 2 days and I looked at it and I'm like, this looks good. We could probably keep it. And then I was like, no, I'm scared. I don't want to keep it. So I threw it away.
That's
Okay.
why Harvest Right needs to make sure all of us in the show need to have a good freeze dryer.
We do. We really do. So, okay. One of it's not terribly unusual, but the most fun that I have had with my dehydrator is I made some from the Land of Plenty, which is the name of our garden. I made some of our own homemade dried ranch dressing. And
Ooh.
so I was able to dehydrate all the herbs over the seasons. Any herbs that I grew in the garden, I put them in a dehydrator and then you chop them up in your little blender or whatever you have. We have a small handheld blender that I do that. I store them in my old spice containers that I put masking tape around to rename and the date that they were put in there. And then I'm able to use those spices for all kinds of cooking. But what was so fun was to be able to make my own ranch dressing mix, dry mix, to be able to have and to use. And so that was, I mean, it made me feel so homesteady to try to do that. And it opened the door to endless possibilities with the dehydrator. So
Wow.
Right.
that's my story.
That's cool.
That is it does make you when you dehydrate successfully, you do feel very homesteady. You feel like you somebody
Yeah, I'm a
because
Yeah.
pioneer
I'm
woman
able
or
to put it
something.
away.
Yeah.
Now, who's got a wah wah? Who dehydrated something? Monica already shared that she didn't feel comfortable with the eggs.
Mhm.
Who has dehydrated something where you were like, oh, this was a disaster? Let's share that so that our listeners know. I'll share. My brother brought over a 5-pound bag of shredded mozzarella. Maybe it was a 10-pound bag. I don't know. It was this huge bag of mozzarella and I needed to do something with it. I thought, I'm just going to dehydrate it because I got some dehydrated, I thought, uh, shredded cheddar cheese from August and Farms. I thought I'll just dehydrate it. The fat content is so high, it just becomes oily and yucky and
Yeah.
melty. And it just went, I didn't have the silicone trays. I just spread it out over my little grates. And so it all melted in between the grates.
Mhm.
It took me weeks to clean the hardened, greasy, gelatinous, crunchy muck from
Yeah.
those grates. And I mean, I like cheese grated my knuckles trying to get that stuff out. It didn't matter how long I soaked it. It's better to freeze dry the cheese or
Yeah.
just freeze the cheese, but don't try to dehydrate the cheese. Never, ever again will I do that.
Right.
Those- that sounded terrible.
Did
I
that
mean,
trigger
because
did that trigger anybody?
that's a little triggering of the cheese because who doesn't love cheese and that could make you like not want to eat cheese anymore to have to
Oh, it was a disaster. Does anybody
the
else have a dehydrating disaster we can share so people don't follow in the footsteps?
um I don't know if mine would be a disaster. I did for the first time I tried the recipe on cucumber salt and vinegar chips. I know cucumbers are triggering to you, Alicia,
They
but
are.
I did like I was supposed to. I followed this is the first time I did it, so I'm giving myself a little bit of grace. And I soaked it in the white vinegar, distilled vinegar, and salt. And you're supposed to do it for 24 hours and then dehydrate it. I will tell you, I put so much salt in this batch. They should give it to dental offices to cure ulcers in your mouth because you'll eat one of them. And I had a little party and I'm so proud of it and I'm sharing it with everybody and to see everybody's face that been they're like, whew, this is salty,
Yeah.
salty. So, you know, don't be so heavy handed with the salt would be my thing. But it does work. You gotta mandolin your cucumber chips, let them soak in a vinegar and not as much salt, but salt and vinegar. And when you dehydrate it, it like soaks. I don't know how it works, but it soaks into the chip. So this chip tastes like what you get at the store, Lay's salt and vinegar chips, but it's healthy and you can sit there like a fat kid and just eat for days on those and not feel bad. But not I would say not a terrible story, but I will say the salt was
Well, yeah, because when you dehydrate, and this is something we don't think about, it's almost like you're really condensing the profile.
Mhm.
And so you're taking what would maybe be a normal amount of salt and you're condensing it down into this dried substance and it's overwhelming. I made the chips as well. I did the ranch cucumber chips. I just
ooh
did
yeah.
yeah, I mandolined the cucumbers and then I dredged them in my homemade ranch dressing mix and I popped those in there and they were okay. Papa Jim was like, they're okay. I mean, he prefers himself some sour cream and onion chips, some real chips compared to the cucumber chips, but they were okay. But if you get an abundance of cucumbers, like, oh Lord, like I did a couple years ago, you can dehydrate them and then you can pop them in a nice big container of ice water. They'll rehydrate. Don't put anything on them, but you can put them in the ice water and then you can have cucumber water. So there are a lot of things you can do with your dehydrated chips. But yeah, the salt. Be careful with your salt and your seasoning content. Anybody else have a?
Because it was bad.
It was
It
a
was no
showstopper.
good. It was a mouth stopper too.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I actually haven't really had any kind of bad things. I mean, I did have the egg thing, but I will say my father-in-law started me off with a dehydrator years ago. And when he got me the dehydrator, he was so sweet. He was like, okay, so he was like, just so you know, one of the things you need to be mindful of is dehydrating your, from meat. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? And he told me a story about when he was at work and he worked huge shift works. He would work 12 to 16-hour shifts, and he had brought his dehydrator in. Some of the guys had brought in some beef, and they were making beef jerky while they were working. This is actually what they do at government jobs. And he was a government contractor. So they would plug it in their kitchen and they would make.
It's like a good job.
Yeah, right. So they were making like dehydrating beef and things like that and making different jerkies. Well, somebody brought in some really fatty ground beef, I guess, and they put it in the little tubes and they're making the little sticks of ground beef and they put them in there and they let it sit. And hours later, they came back in and the very fatty ground beef had basically like overflowed the trays as it dehydrated. And it was just like leaking down the side. He said there was grease everywhere. He said it was all over. And I'm thinking about what you're telling me.
Yummy.
Now, like, nasty. It's so awful. So yeah, it was a little crazy. And I'm like, wow, this is the story you're going to start me on when you're talking about dehydrating. He's like, here's a dehydrator, Monica. Good luck. Happy birthday.
It's wonderful. You're going to have so much fun. Oh, and this happened.
Oh my gosh.
Now, how
those
often
are some
does
great
everybody
stories.
dehydrate? I mean, because I know, Alicia, you had told me back in the day that when you first got your dehydrator, you dehydrated everything. Every single thing you put your hands on.
Everything. And because I really went through a dehydrating phase, and I was going to share one of the things that I dehydrated that I was really proud of is I had gone down to the Amish community with my neighbor. We go about once, maybe twice a year, and they have like a surplus store where it's, they've got all like the outdated food. So it's not Amish food, but it's their grocery store. They have all this outdated food that they get by the truckload. And there were these bags of pineapple tidbits. And it's like, okay, they're past their best by date. And it's just this big plastic bag with pineapple tidbits in juice. And I'm like, what can I do with this? And I'm not going to use 6 pounds of pineapples all at one time, but I brought them home and I put all of the pineapples, those little tidbits, all on my trays and I dehydrated them. Then I took the juice and I canned a simple syrup with the pineapple juice and ginger. And so that's in my pantry as a simple syrup that I can make all kinds of like drinks with, and it's at the ready. I could use it if I want to put it like in a spice cake mix or something and use that as my liquid. So I've saved all of the juice. Now most people, they would open that bag and they dump the juice and put all of the stuff in a colander. And then they would just use the pineapple and let all the juice go away. So I used the juice, I used some ginger that my neighbor gave me, and then I dehydrated all of that pineapple. And that pineapple can be rehydrated to use in my baking. You can snack on it. There's all kinds of things you can do with the little pineapple tidbits. If I want to make myself a yummy pineapple pizza, I can rehydrate that, pop it on my pizza, and I can discuss more people with
pineapple pizza.
With my culinary oddities.
Okay.
Wait, I just pineapple cinnamon pizza. Rolls. Pineapple pizza is amazing.
Well, really, because I was like, I don't know. This is also coming from the cinnamon roll chili queen. So I didn't know if we wanted to dive into that, but no,
pineapple pizza is good.
Okay, I guess I have to try it.
We also add pineapple and bacon. We also add pineapple and all kinds of stuff to our pizza.
Yeah. Now, since I've given up the meat, I have pineapple, onion, and bell pepper pizza, and it's really tasty.
Ooh, nice. Me. Yeah, pineapple on pizza is amazing. That's a big thing, though. How many people in our chat like pineapple pizza? I mean, that's where we really need to go because that's a thing.
There are two camps.
Yes,
it's either I love it or that's blasphemous.
That's exactly true. People are definitely very, very vocal about whether pineapple belongs on pizza or not. And they're very vocal about it.
Yeah. I mean, there have been friendships and relationships destroyed over putting pineapple on a pizza. Yeah, but I love it.
Now I have to try it now. So I can't say either way whether I'd be pro or anti pineapple on the pizza because I have not tried it. So I need to try it.
I'm also the weirdo that puts peanuts in my Coke.
Okay, well, that's just wrong.
My son does that too. He's like, Mom, you got to try peanuts in your Coke. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. He was like, no, peanuts in your Coke is so good. And I'm like, that's just weird. There's like something floating in the bottom. If I wanted floaters in my Coke, I would give it to the boys to drink first, and then I would take it. I don't need floaters in my Coke.
Salted peanuts
Oh
in your
my gosh.
Coke or root beer, and they float on the top. And then when you take a drink, you just let 1 or 2 little peanuts come in, and then you swallow your Coke and you chew up the peanuts, and you just go in for that next drink. So good.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so we have one that's no pineapple on the pizza for me. Sarah might like it. And then we have a Facebook post that says loves the pineapple on the pizza. So I think we're half and half
There you
so
go.
far.
Yeah.
Y'all put it in. Y'all put it in.
It's
if you
it's
like
another
it.
thing of that savory and sweet profile. You have the savoriness. I mean, who eats a sweet pizza? Nobody. It's savory. If
Wait,
you
I
add,
do.
you do.
So we have it's called CC's Pizza here in Georgia. I don't know where else it is, but it's like a
Yeah.
pizza buffet
They have
kind
them
of
here.
thing. And so maybe it's a South thing. And they have a dessert pizza, which is
Well,
kind of like
that's a dessert pizza. Yeah.
well,
No,
that's a sweet one.
I'm talking pizza with a tomato or an Alfredo sauce.
Yeah.
Nope, those aren't sweet by
Oh
tradition.
yeah, no, this is
No,
chocolate sauce.
you act like I don't know what a dessert pizza is.
Well,
Yeah.
you're a working out healthy friend now,
I
so
am. So I
you
have to
may
pack
have
that up now.
yeah, you had to pack that up and put it away.
But I could have put a hurt on it at a CC's back in the day.
Yeah. CC's are excellent.
Yeah,
It
they make them
really
in
is.
apple and cherry, and then they got the little drizzle on top. So good. So
Well,
good. But yeah, it's the flavor profile. You've got that
Yeah.
savory
So
dinner
good.
pizza, not a dessert pizza, dinner pizza. And then you've got the little chunks of pineapple. So good. Now back when I was a meat eater, it would always be the pineapple with the Canadian bacon. That's the tradition. That's the Hawaiian pizza. But and I love me a good barbecue chicken pizza too with cilantro and red onions. Boy, I'm
me
getting off
too. I will
topic.
say no, I really like the barbecue chicken pizza too. So I can jump on that board.
Yeah, but no pineapple on that. No, 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 no. That's crossing the barrier even for this girl. So,
That's
anyways,
not wrong. We got totally we're talking
We
about
got
prepping
sidetracked.
and then we go into
it's
pizzas. This
it's
is
because
how
we's
our brain works,
hungry.
Jill.
We's
You're
hungry. It happens
right.
Yeah.
every week because all of us come into the studio and it's like we haven't really had a good nutritious breakfast yet. So we start talking food and then we get completely derailed. But it was a great post about the dehydrator. Hopefully, we've been able to share a little bit about some things outside of the box. I do want to share one more thing about the dehydrator. And because, like Casey said, when I first got my dehydrator, I was dehydrating everything. And if frozen vegetables went on sale, I'd grab the frozen vegetables and
Mhm.
then pop them in the dehydrator. So I've got them in the pantry as opposed to keeping them in the fridge or the freezer. But, I do want to share with everybody you can dehydrate your vegetables like the green beans, the peas, and the corn and such. But freeze dried is so much better because when you dehydrate the veggies that have the outer shell on them, the outer casing, like
Mhm.
a pea or like a niblet of corn, it gets kind of shriveled and hard. It takes a little bit longer for it to rehydrate. It doesn't look as pretty in your jars as the freeze dried does. But the freeze dried doesn't do that. It doesn't make that shell really hard. And I've had some dishes that I've put together using my dehydrated veggies, and it doesn't matter how long I soak them or how long I cook them, that shell always stays a little bit chewy. And so I have given up the ghost on dehydrating those things. And now I just get the Augustin farms. I get the peas, I get the celery, I get the corn. Those types of things I get freeze dried because I can see a huge difference in it. And I just like the way they look better in my meals in a jar and how they taste once I rehydrate them.
Right.
Now, my friend Karen gave me a huge head of celery out of her garden the other day. And am I going to waste that? Heck no. Went
Yeah.
to the dehydrator because there's so many celery salt. You can grind it up. You can add it to all kinds of things. So I did not let that go to waste, especially, and don't throw away the leaves. If you don't want to dehydrate the leaves and put it into a celery salt or put it into a nice bouillon mix or something, put it in your bag in the freezer and drop those into your veggie stock when you're making your stock. Like our first comment call out, don't throw any of it away. Jumping off the soapbox.
Well, and I just wanted to, because you mentioned Augustin Farm. We always talk about how much we, especially me and Alicia, love Augustin Farm, and
Mhm.
we do have a promo code if you wanted to go over there. They have some wonder for deals. What, I can't speak today, y'all. It's like I'm
I'm
Wonderful
getting
deal.
English.
contagious. I'm
I
contagious.
I know, rubbing off on me. But there's wonderful deals on Augustin Farm. Go over to our Linktree link, scan that QR code that I'm popping up right there at the top right-hand corner of your screen.
I've
Head
got
over there.
I've got it in our. I've got
Monica's
the
going to drop
farm
the
link
link
in there. Yep.
and use Hey Bale for 10% off. And I have tried. Um, the sale stuff will still take off that 10% on top of the sale price. So
Shut
I
up.
have
Nice.
tried. So you may want to go in there and grab you up. I think there was some dehydrated real steak, not the faux steak, but the
They have
real
the
steak.
real beef.
They have the real beef back in stock now.
Oh,
So go check it out. Get you some to make meals in a jar. Because I know during the holiday season, a lot of my videos, I don't know about my co-hosts, are going to be on meal in a jar. My Vlogmas videos I'm going to be making a lot of holiday gifts to give away with Augustin Farm stuff. So use Hey Bale to get 10% off of your purchase.
And
wow.
I want to put just a little word out there for our listeners that maybe they might go online and look at this and get just a tiny little bit of sticker shock, because I've seen it in some of the other groups that I belong to, and they're like, $17 for a number 10 can of celery that's not even all the way full. Who do they think they're kidding? Well, when you dehydrate, it shrinks it so much, or freeze dry. They don't realize, do you know how many heads of celery go into that one can? You can't go to the store and buy $17 worth of celery and get the same ratio that you're getting in that can, and the work's all been done for you. And I
Mhm.
see it all the time. I see people complain all the time about the cost of the freeze-dried food
Yep.
because they can't wrap their brain around the fact that you're getting a lot of food in that number 10 can. And
A
yes,
lot.
it's filled by weight. It's not necessarily, or filled by volume, but not always to the top, and people think they're being ripped off. But I'm telling you, you can't go to the store and buy the produce and dehydrate it yourself for the cost that you can get in this can that's already sealed and shelf stable for 10 years. And then once you
Right.
open it, make your meals in a jar and then go ahead and vacuum seal what's left.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. It really truly is. People just can't always see that. They can't see
Right.
the value in it. So I really want to encourage people to look past that. I mean, okay, yeah, it's $60 for maybe some egg powder, but do you know how many eggs that is? You know how many eggs and how long it
Right.
would take you to dehydrate it and then have something happen like where Monica's like, I don't know if I can trust it. You can
Yeah.
trust this, but or you can spend the $4,000 to get yourself a freeze dryer and do it yourself, which is a great thing to do if you've got it. But if you don't have that freeze dryer,
Right.
let Augustin Farms freeze dry it for you. Get it in the can, get it on your shelf, and you've got something that's shelf stable. They've done the work. It's worth the price. That's all I'm gonna say. And then to boot, we give you 10% on top of that. Hello.
Hello. Can we just say a hello? And, I do
Yeah.
that also. Besides the Augustin Farm stuff, I love the Nido milk powder. And like you said, I like to vacuum seal it in separate jars because once you open freeze dried food, it does have a shelf life at that point. If you don't
Mhm.
open it, you just leave it on your shelf sealed, it's 25 years. You open it, you're going to get probably 2 years. It's going to start getting a little gunky and clumpy. Go ahead if you have to open it, if you have to be that person that tries it, which is me. I'm pointing to myself as I'm saying this. Separate it in different pint jars, quart jars, whatever. Use your 4-jar lids that you also can use. There we go. Hey Bale for 10% off. It's in our Linktree link, but you can vacuum seal it and then you're going to get 10-year shelf life. So you're going to extend that shelf life by vacuum sealing it in the cup, in the jar, and putting it on your pantry after you've opened that number 10 can. So it really is great to have these in your pantry. And now I will get off my soapbox.
I see an important question before we wrap up for the day. A listener wants to know, can you dehydrate canned vegetables? I personally have never tried dehydrating canned vegetables. I've only done the fresh and I've only done the frozen. Take into consideration your canned vegetables have an added salt content. So think about most of the time. So think about what Casey had to say about that. If you're going to try it, rinse them first. But it might be a little mushy and might take longer to dehydrate. I personally have never done it. I'd say if you're going to try it, make sure you rinse them well, spread them out evenly on the tray, give it a go, and see if you like it before you move on any further. Try one can, see how it goes, get it in the dehydrated state, proof it, which means when you put it in your jar, look for signs of moisture before you really seal it, and then try it in a recipe and see how it reconstitutes and see what it does. My thought is
I think I smell us doing a video,
I don't know.
ladies.
I don't know because my thought is if it's in your pantry and it's in a can, leave it in the
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Why make the extra work for yourself?
See, I
leave
always,
it in
if
the
I
can.
buy, well, if I buy pasta sauce or spaghetti sauce, which I don't do much of anymore, but if I did, I always recan it because I don't want it staying in the aluminum. That's the only reason I did
So
it.
the other option would be the only other reason too is like say you find one of those really big jars. So if it's Rebecca, right? Rebecca is the one that posed the question. If it's just her and her brother, maybe she's buying a really like big mega jar of canned vegetables. She's only using half of it for a meal or whatever. And she's thinking, well, shoot, what am I going to do with the rest of it? You can maybe dehydrate it so that she can use it in a recipe later. So that would be probably the thought, that could be a thought process behind that is if you
Yeah,
opening a really big can you dehydrate? Now, I mean, I believe you can, but like Alicia said, you might want to be mindful of just rinsing it, making sure that it's, you're probably going to lose some nutritional value from a canned vegetable. But if that's an option, I mean, if it's just something to try, it can't hurt to try it. I feel like
Right.
if you're just going to throw it out anyway, then
And the thing is if we are talking about the larger cans, because you can buy something in bulk, I would really highly suggest just get yourself a little 99-cent can of peas. Try it first. Then if it's successful, then yes, get those big cans when you can get them on sale or a dented can maybe, and you don't trust maybe it's been compromised and you want to salvage it somehow, then try it. It doesn't hurt to try. I personally have not done the canned foods. And obviously I haven't bought the big canned veggies for me to even think that way because I was thinking the little cans is like I would just keep it on my shelf. But I also get what Casey's saying about having them in the tin cans.
Yeah.
If you don't want to keep them in the tin cans and you get a great deal. I know that people can get the big number 10 cans of sauce or ketchup or something. They recan them perfectly fine.
Yep.
Dehydrating, that's something I haven't tried yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Well, I think we had a great conversation today, honestly. And, this time next week will be Thanksgiving week. We will not be physically here live. We did pre-record that episode, but we
had so much fun doing it, y'all. We
did.
had so much fun. So
We
y'all need
did.
to come and listen.
But we're
Hold up a second. Hold up
We're
a
gonna be in the
second.
chat.
Are you
What's up?
telling me that the Thursday after this next Thursday is already Thanksgiving?
Yes.
That is what
I
we're
am
telling you.
not ready.
We're
Me
telling you
either.
that
I am not ready.
this time next week, Casey's going to be saying on the episode. So if you haven't pulled out your turkey, and I'm going to be the one going, oh shoot, I better get my turkey. And actually, I think we're processing turkeys this weekend or next Monday or Tuesday. So we'll have some fresh turkey.
Where's the time going? Where is the time going that we're already talking Thanksgiving? It blows my mind.
It's going to be the end of the year before we know it, and I was looking at our schedule today. I was like, oh, we won't be here next week, but we will have. I'm gonna pop this up just so everybody can see it. It's going to be a very fun episode.
I have a complaint. Why does Betty not have her little headband on?
She forgot to pay her membership fee. So
for those of you who are listening but are not seeing, Casey has done a wonderful job of turning all of us into this really great Thanksgiving promo pic. And it's got a turkey with a little hat raising a glass of wine, and we've all got our little Thanksgiving gear on. But my little turkey Becky, or my chicken Becky, she's been left out in the cold. She's just sporting those beautiful feathers.
It looks like I'm getting ready to grab that wine glass and hand it over to Casey in a second.
You are. And the turkey say, "Not today, girlfriend."
Not today. This is mine. and it's grape juice. That's what I always say. Yeah, it's just grape juice.
It is
But no,
definitely.
it's definitely wine. But it was a fun episode. We were so we wanted to do that so that we all could spend time with our families. But as Monica said, we will be in the chat as well. I'll be kind of popping in and saying hello, and I may even pop up some comments on the live stream that are in the chat. So you'll just have to come back and see and come back and listen.
I'd love to hear from our listeners. I'd really love some feedback, what they think of our new unscripted approach to not only the podcast, but to this radio show. I'm hoping they're liking how we ping pong off of each other and just bring some levity and some laughter into their mornings. I do hope they love that. Because y'all had to do it because of me.
I think it's okay to all be a little unscripted every now and then.
I mean, let's face it. Yeah. I started today's show saying it was a moaning show.
and that is why we leave those good puns to Alicia. Because it may not sound as cool coming from me or Monica.
Yeah, no.
There would be awkward silence. Like it
would be rough.
It happens with me, and people are like, "Oh yeah, we know to expect that from her." But I'm hoping that everybody's enjoying the unscripted avenue that we bring you every week, not only in the podcast but on our radio show as well. So we're getting ready to close out. Some of you may have noticed that Miss Ann has not been commenting in the last little bit. Sorry, hairball. And she's gone over to her live, her Tuesday over on her actual YouTube channel. Pop on over there, give her a little love, tell her that we sent you guys over there to her. So, but we're getting ready to close out. So make sure you come back next Tuesday for that Thanksgiving episode. It was pre-recorded, but will be available in chat. We want to thank our sponsor, Kelzyme. Wonderful, wonderful organic nutritive additive for your garden. Super great stuff. We love it. We Kelzyme the crap out of everything on our homesteads. And so, and we just want to thank everybody for being here with us. We hope you have a wonderful week as you prepare for Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, next week already. And just be safe out there. Take care of each other. Have a blessed week. Have a blessed day. Take care of yourself. And we'll talk to you next time here on Hey Y'all Hey.
Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Oh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central.